I see it.
Okay, now I'm on.
Now we're here. Okay.
Yes.
Hey,
Good.
hi.
Hello, everyone. Sorry, we're having just some technical difficulties, so we're going to restart. I am Judah Bernard, the Wisdom Dialoguer of the Rise Creating Your Voice podcast, and I have two young, lovely ladies on here that will be assisting me with the Be Healthy part. The Be Healthy being that we're looking from a spiritual, mental, and physical health. And what does that mean to you? Definitely, I want to introduce Micah, Jane, Neese, and Katie Birthheart. So welcome them and give them a round of applause. And ladies, let's go. Let's introduce yourself and tell them about yourself.
Thank you.
Hi, guys. Like Judah said, I'm Micah Neese. Judah and I met 5 years ago in kickboxing, stayed friends ever since. I am actually a psychotherapist by trade, and I've been such for the better part of 10 years now. And Katie and I actually have opened together a life coaching business where we're gonna everything we're talking about today, that's our jam. That is our specialty. So this works out perfectly. We're really excited to talk to you guys.
Hello. I am Katie Birthheart, and like Micah said, we just opened new Neese On Life, our life coaching business that we are super proud of. And I am a mindset coach and positivity guru. But I am a CODA by trade. And for those of you who don't know what a CODA is, that is a certified occupational therapy assistant. So we tend to look at people from a more holistic point of view versus like physical therapy. It's just one part of your body. So again, we are looking at the mental, the physical, and how it all coincides together.
Y'all are getting some wraparound care here.
Right up my alley. So we're excited.
So
Go ahead.
I'm glad that they have really, really just talked about the holistic part of it. And understand in the holistic part, being healthy for Judah is having the holistic part. And you're looking at the whole mind, which is the mental, the physical, your heart, your total body, and also your spiritual too, because you have to be spiritually grounded in order to create healthy. But then again, you also have to have the desire to be healthy. And that's one thing that people sometimes don't have the desire to be healthy. They want to stay in a situation that they're not probably comfortable in, or just stay in that situation because that's what they know, and they don't seek out or sought out help to make sure that it goes to the point of them receiving the healthy part of what they need. Mm-hmm. Understand that health starts with you. It does not start with your doctor. It does not start with going to a dentist. It starts off with you learning the basics of activities of daily living. It starts off with you learning how to brush your teeth. It's starting out you learning how to reduce stress. It's starting off of how you take in stress, tension, and things like that too as well. So it starts with you, and then you know what you put into your body physically is what you put into it. One thing that I do is, and I did was, I went further in my health, and what I did was I asked my mother, what are your current health problems? I asked my father, what are your current health problems? That gave me a line in the basis of what if it's genetic? What if these things can be aligned with what I'm dealing with as far as health too as well? So sometimes you have to go into the whole basic of how you're feeling, what your parents feel, or what they're currently dealing with too as well. So I love the holistic approach. I think that's a great way to put being healthy is having a holistic approach.
Absolutely.
I think, and Katie, I wonder if we were both about to say the same thing.
Probably.
You'll hear us say these two words all the time. So just, if you guys want to play a game, get a nickel every time we say the word self-awareness. So many of us stay in unhealthy patterns, unhealthy physical health patterns, unhealthy emotional health patterns, unhealthy mental and relationship health patterns, because it's all we know. It's all our mom and dad knew. It's all our community knows. It's all society knows. And so it takes being self-aware on purpose to be like, oh, okay. So this could use some attention and refining. I could use some work on this. And I noticed, and I'll let you guys jump in. For me personally, and I'll get more into it later, sometimes every single time in my 36 years of life where I focus on one part of being healthy, so whether that's my diet or if that's my emotional health, my mental health, my exercise, if I'm only focusing on one thing and trying to get that one thing balanced, I stay out of balance. Like, it's got to be all or nothing. I mean, you got to start somewhere, but like, you know, like if you focus too much on one thing, you're giving all your energy to that instead of looking at yourself from like the whole person perspective. And that it takes some self-awareness to do that.
Yeah, I like that, Micah. And two, like when you say energy, you're giving your energy. Like, I think people need to remember, like, everything in this earth is energy. Like, everything you do is like a transactional energy. Like when you have a friendship, you're giving and receiving of energy. When you go to do a task, you are giving and receiving of energy. And you have to be careful at where you're placing all that energy, because like you said, you will be out of balance. But in the same perspective, like you can't just jump in and change everything all at once.
Yeah.
Like you have to say, I remember years ago, I decided to stop drinking soda because it made me feel bad. And so I was like, I'm going to quit drinking soda. And so I decided I'm just not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to drink it. What I said to myself was, I don't drink soda. And I took that one thing and I was like, I'm going to eliminate this one thing. And that's kind of how you have to do it. You like take something out that isn't working for you, but then maybe replace it with something that's good. So then I like up my water intake. You know, I quit drinking soda, but I up my water. So you kind of have to remember that you can't just jump in and do everything at once. When you kind of get the self-awareness that you need to change something, you have to be a little more strategic and give yourself a little grace.
Definitely. They that's actually like the replacement. That's something that they speak to a lot in mental health and addiction, food addiction, substance abuse, is like, or just, and even just with like general bad habits. So if like you bite your nails as like an anxious tick or whatever, then you if you stop biting your nails, you got to do something. So find something to fix it with, you know, or something like that. So you can't replace a bad habit. I mean, you can't lose a bad habit without replacing it with something else. Yes. You know, so like that's
like
why,
eating
like,
a piece of celery.
What?
Eating a piece of celery.
Celery. Oh, I never understood that. People still say that. They're like, just eat a piece of celery, and I was like, celery's the word. Broccoli I can get down with, but
although there is a book out that talks about celery juice and how it's so good for you. So I don't know.
Yes.
Might have to give it a try.
We have it hidden in like a juice, like maybe. But you gotta hide it in there for me.
So definitely we want to definitely discuss from the mental health perspective, being that life coach and a lot of things come up as far as mental health, but most people are afraid of going to mental health. And they lack the knowledge thereof that therapy and mental health doctors and psychiatrists are not really bad people. They're really there to help you through whatever you're going through. It's like trauma, childhood trauma, traumatic things where you're having dreams or nightmares, or things that you may feel like that trigger you to feel a certain type of way, and that you might need assistance in getting that feeling managed. And I'm not saying anything particular where people are having anxiety or depression, but we'll just call them feelings. We'll call them feelings. And because there are feelings, and that it's a mental feeling that you're having, or a mental movement or action that you're having that you're unfamiliar with. So sometimes you actually need to talk to someone to actually help you manage what you're going through, because right now, I mean, some people didn't do the necessary research to even see what it is. They just say, well, I just think it's going to get better. Sometimes it gets worse. And then the more you harp on doing whatever that feeling is, it gets worse instead of actually managing it and talking to someone. And what are your thoughts about that?
I think for me, like, humanize the therapist. I think that it's like really important that people talk more about what therapy really looks like,
Yes.
because it's still shocking to me how many times I, like, you know, do an intake evaluation with somebody and they're like, you know, and I just need you to tell me what to do with my life. Or somebody will be like, well, I don't need somebody to, you know, tell me what's wrong with me. I'm like, what movies have you been watching? That is not how therapy works, okay?
Right.
That's not how it works. The best illustration of what I've seen of what therapy is actually from, like, I don't know, a graphic I saw on the internet, which is, imagine that you're sitting with somebody and you have this huge, giant, jumbled ball of yarn, and it's just a mess. It is a mess. What you're holding, the big, jumbled, messy ball of yarn, okay?
Yes.
And I come along as your therapist and I take out 2 loose ends, and then I hold those ends as you unravel. And I'm like, oh, you might want to unravel that part. I see that it wants to come loose. And I help you untangle what's going on upstairs. And that's it. I mean, I'd like to think, you know, my clients would tell you that I'm pretty relatable. And we're not talking about me as a therapist, but like, I'm representing other good therapists out there.
Right.
And I think we need to we need to talk more and destigmatize the therapy experience, because I think a lot of people have it wrong.
Well, and I think too, Micah, like, the thing that happens within therapy is people will go and they'll see a therapist and they're like, well, that didn't really do anything for me. And they're like misinterpreting what therapy should be. And they don't realize that they still have to do some hard work on whatever it is that they're dealing with. And it takes multiple times. And not only that, like, maybe you didn't jive with that therapist. Maybe that therapist and you guys, like, you two didn't connect on the level that you need to. And that's okay. But you got to find the therapist that you are jiving with and that you're able to connect to and that you feel comfortable telling them things, because the more things you tell the therapist, the more they're able to kind of piece together what it is that's really happening and then direct you in the place that you need to go in order to work on whatever the situation is.
You brought up one of, like, I can't believe I missed that point. And you and I joke a lot about this, the people that come in and want the bibbity bobbity boo therapy, like, you know, they come in and they're like,
wave your wand and make it better.
They're like, cast your spell, Micah, fix it. And I'm like, bibbity bobbity,
I'm not fixing, you're
like,
fixing.
that's not how this works. What I do is like I said, untangle what's going on, and I help give Lynn some perspective, and I provide the empowerment, and Katie does too as a life coach. It's just different than therapy, and we can get into that later. But if you are not willing to take a good, long, hard look at yourself and then do the work, therapy will not be effective for you, period. Yep. I mean, that's that. I mean, like, they can't do it for you. You're with them an hour out of every week if you go the standard amount of time, and then the rest is up to you. It's application into your own life.
But what is it? So, I mean, I'm going to pose the question to you guys. What is it that you think holds people back from doing the work? Like, is it something that is just innate in us that, you know, we don't want to go there again in that situation? Or do you think that it is something societal, like with the stigma that is on mental health? Like, what do you think is keeping people from being able to essentially tell their therapist what's happening and wanting to do the work to fix it?
I'm interested to hear from Judah on this one.
Yes.
Not to put people in a box, but it's
no, I'm not putting people in a box, because the thing is, what people don't know about Judah Bernard, that I was a licensed clinical therapist too as well. So in therapy comes with all shades. It's no set color in therapy. It's no set culture in therapy, because a lot of everybody's in therapy.
Yeah.
So we have to look at it was, and I asked some of my clients at that particular time, when I was one, I was like, so what was the fear of you coming? The fear was the fear of the unknown,
Mm-hmm.
of what's going to happen. Well, I'm just tired of going to therapist and it's just not right. Well, it's just like you're going to shop for a new car. Are you going to go pick the first new car you get into? No, you're going to try out a lot of them until that car is the right fit for you. It's going to go the speed that you need. It's going to go in reverse, or it's going to have a stick shift. It's going to have Apple radio. It's going to have serious music. So all those bells and whistles, you need to look for that in a therapist. Write down what you need in a therapist. Write it down and say, look, these are my boundaries. These are some things that I know I want to go through and some things that I need help in. But then again, if you can't provide me this, I need to go see another person. So start with that first, is write down your needs for people when you come in and say, hey, therapy or this person who's trying to put therapy on you, hey, these are my needs. A, B, C, and D. Some people are just scared because, or some people just want information. Some people go there for, to help. I think like Micah said, oh, can you fix this? It's not about fixing. It's about assisting you and helping you manage your symptoms and managing your triggers. It's not about helping with anything. You have to be that person to actually do the work, because we have the tools and resources. But then again, you have to go back home and do catch it, check it, change it. You have to go back home and do the different tools and skill set. You have to actually practice in your everyday life, not only when you come to therapy sessions. And if you don't practice it, guess what? You're not going to get any better.
Right. And I think, everything you just said, spot on. I love the catch it, check it, change it. What I noticed, and when I was saying put you in a box, and I don't mean to do it, it's my male clients that I feel I notice the most amount of pride. Not that females, it can't be prevented to come to therapy because of their pride, but I think a lot of people are like, oh, I don't need somebody to tell me, I can handle it myself, whatever.
There's a huge stigma on men needing mental health, needing therapy and taking care of their mental health. And I think with women, it's like, oh, women have feelings, but like for some reason men don't have feeling. Like, of course men have feelings. They're human. Like there is such a stigma. Yeah, there is such a stigma. So, I mean, Judah, being a man, how do you feel like that resonates with you? I mean, obviously you were a therapist, but I mean, why is there such a stigma for men?
And how I felt, because I was a therapist, I became supernatural. I became macho man. So it wasn't about the whole thing of therapy. It was the thing of, I have to let my guard down. I have to be vulnerable. So men,
I'm like that big
the muscles
word.
They don't want to be vulnerable.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's it right there.
It's sort of like I have this protection over me, and I don't need you to strip my manhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Woo.
And once you tear down all my walls, guess what? I'm wide open.
Yeah.
And now I might fall into any little crack or crevice.
Yeah. That spoke to me right there, Judah. I gotta say, it really did. Like, oh wow. I thank you for sharing that, because like, I'd like to think that I understood as best as a female therapist could, and as like a wife to a man and a sister to men and a friend of, but I've not experienced life as a male. So I'm like, that when you said that's enlightenment that I've never experienced. And I gotta say, and I don't know if you feel the same, and I'm not trying to put us all on blast, but I think all of us are comfortable saying that we've all participated in therapy, you know,
Yeah.
and it has made me 10,000 times stronger and 10,000 times more connected to who I am, what I want for my life, you know, what I don't want for my life. It has been the single, aside from my spiritual relationship, it's been the single most profound experience of my life is counseling.
Well, and I think too, like when Judah spoke, like the vulnerability, everyone is afraid of being vulnerable. And one of my favorite authors, and you know, Brene Brown, speaks to vulnerability quite a bit. And really, like, that is the way we connect with each other, is being vulnerable. And I think it's kind of like created this bigger problem in our world with people building these walls around themselves and not allowing the vulnerability, because it takes away from the connection that you can have with someone. And I think it's just, that's huge to bring awareness to that part of it, is like, you have to be vulnerable in order to connect with other people on a certain level.
Were you about to say?
Yeah, and that's one thing that I see too as well, connecting with people. And I think I saw this on a show this morning, was you know you're growing when you can associate yourself with different people. And that's resonated within me too. That is a growth process, because in growing, you have to meet with different people. If you stay in your small little bubble, guess what? You're not growing. You're not growing.
Katie's favorite, another one of her favorite quotes. Where does do you know where I'm going with this?
Which one?
On the other side of.
Oh, yeah. One of my favorite things to say to people is, everything you want in life is on the other side of fear. Yeah.
So you have
everything you want in life is on the other side of fear.
Yes. I love it.
It is when you you know, it is a process of growing, you know. I've noticed, and no offense to anybody that sees this, that I've been friends with since I was little, but like, if you look at like the relationships I've had and the company I keep over the span of a 36-year lifetime, I noticed that the more I was able to grow spiritually, mentally, emotionally, the more my circle became more and more refined with people that lift me up and don't intrude or hurt or suck the life out of me. You know what I mean? And so, not that like, you know, everybody did when I was young, but like, and some of the friendships that I've had since I was young, I've spanned. I mean, Katie and I hate to say it because it makes us feel old, but we've been friends for 22 years, you know? So like, but our energy, our mental and emotional wellness has stayed on the same level as, you know what I mean? Because the people that you leave behind, and I hate to put it that way, are the people that aren't ready to grow. They're not, you know, they're not where you are with that.
Right.
We were just talking about that earlier. Was it today or yesterday?
Oh, it's a blur.
It's a blur. About our circle, you know, in the company that you keep. And Micah makes fun of me all of the time and says I sound like her dad when I say this. And I probably heard it from my mother, but I can't even remember when I started having this as like my life motto, but it's garbage in, garbage out.
Right.
And if you are surrounding yourself with people, like if you think about it, like if you're surrounding yourself with people who are toxic, who are severely narcissistic, who are, you know, I don't know, like I can't even think of the word, but energy vampires, like they are just, maybe they're negative all the time. There's always a problem. Well, and you give them a solution. Well, the problem with that is, and then you give them another. Well, the problem with that is, like, there's always a problem to every solution. Those people become a drain on your energy, and they're not going in the same direction you want to go. And it's unfortunate. Like, I feel like I'm nice to everybody, but at the same time, I keep my inner circle very tight. Like, the people who I'm going to seek counsel from are the people who I know are going to be, they're going to give me good energy, but they're also going to be real with me. They're not going to, there's no judgment. It's just realness. Yeah. It doesn't come from a place of judgment. It doesn't come with any toxicity. Like, it is just real facts. Like, well, you know, this is this and that is that. And that's the end of it. There's no judgment. There's no like sucking the life out of you. But yeah, I mean, I think that affects your, definitely affects your mental health, spiritual health, all of the above.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that gives us a great segue into emotional health and relational health too, as well. Having relationships, emotional, we do understand that some people with those negative energies take us on the emotional roller coaster. I'm sure I can raise my hand and say I've been on an emotional roller coaster before, and I don't want to go on there anymore, because basically it's not a ride that's fulfilling, especially after you ate so much of the emotional roller coaster. You're going to start regurgitating that emotional roller coaster stuff and that fat bread and all that other stuff you took in and that negative thing, and it's going to explode. So
garbage
how do you guys feel about emotional health and also relationship health too, as well? Because basically we need to definitely talk about that too, as well, and promoting great health and emotion, and also promoting good health and relationships too, as well.
Yeah, definitely. This will be a fun conversation.
Yes.
Katie and I are both married, and you know, I've always taken an interest in, like, not even just like romantic relationships, but like relationships in general, the relationships you have with your family and so on and so forth. I am going to be doing a series through New Neese On Life about why your toxic trait matters. Okay. And your toxic trait matters, and everybody likes to post these like fun, "This is my toxic trait" on Facebook. Okay. But everybody's got them, and your toxic trait comes from some broken part of you, and your broken part, you're going to take with you into relationships, into your job, into your marriage, into your whatever. And if you do not address what that is, it is going to continue to poison you.
Yes.
And then you're going to look back on your life and be like, wow, I don't understand why this kept happening to me. Goes back to the self-awareness. Okay, why your toxic trait matters, because it didn't have to happen to you, right? You might not have been in control of the thing that like started the domino effect, but once you reach adulthood and a certain level of understanding, it's up to you to take a step back, examine it, and be like, I got to work on that, because I don't want to take it with me away. You know, I don't want to take it on the roller coaster of life. I don't want to throw up on the roller coaster. I don't want to make other people throw up on the roller coaster. So that's why, you know, things like your toxic trait matters.
Yeah.
So
Love it.
I think it's also important to take a look at, and if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times, communication. Like, when it comes to relationships, raise your hand if you've heard communication is the key to a great relationship. Raise your hand. I'd like to say false. Okay. I say it's the second of two, self-awareness.
Yes.
Because
I love the self-awareness.
If you only know how to communicate, which that's a good skill, okay, but you're not like communicating what is true for you, then like, what are we doing here? You know, like, does it even really make sense? So I think there's definitely rules of engagement for positive communication, but like, I think the bigger thing is self-awareness. Like, what is happening in me as it relates to this relationship? How do I communicate that to you? How do I ask for what I need from you? How do I receive what you need? Everybody it needs to be self-aware.
Well, I think part of the self-awareness too, Micah, and, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but it goes in line with like your triggers too. Like, if you're trying to have a conversation with someone, you know, something that they say may trigger you. And if you're not self-aware enough to know what your own triggers are, that's what perpetuates a fight. That is what continues the arguments over and over and over again in those cycles of, you know, here's how we're going to argue. Okay, we're going to get mad, then we're going to get over it. And then it just sits there. And now we're circling back around again to have the same argument over and over again, because the same things keep getting said and the same triggers keep going off.
You can't, to that end, you can't ask somebody to respect a boundary you've never drawn.
Right.
You can't expect somebody to value something you've never named, or you tried to value yourself. No matter how much somebody loves you, they can't do that. Like,
Right.
I love it.
you know, you've got to be vulnerable. To go back to Judith's point, you've got to be vulnerable enough after you've been self-aware. You've got to be vulnerable enough to communicate to me how I can respect where you are. And, you know, I'm not God, I can't heal you, but like hold that space with you. Like,
I feel like we need a whiteboard, and we need to like step one, step
That's
two.
our next thing. We're gonna do that next.
We
The
need
whiteboard
to.
and all that stuff. That's our next thing.
We need to.
Because we have to give them homework. We have to give them homework.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm the homework queen in my therapy, in my practice. I will write it down, and I'll be like, when you come back next week, I'm gonna ask you, you know, blah blah blah. Yeah, definitely.
Oh gosh.
So I think I definitely want our listeners to just listen to what we're definitely saying, and actually looking at the vulnerability and making sure you're doing self-awareness and the things what we're talking about. And self-aware meaning that you're looking at yourself and being aware of what you bring to the table too as well.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we have so much trauma in our lives that we're bringing that trauma.
Yeah.
We're bringing that ugly trauma, that pitiful trauma, that sorry trauma, and then we're trying to build this elaborate relationship. And if that other person is dealing with the same trauma, guess what? That's trauma squared. That's like we're about to blow up a building.
I love that. And it can be so hard too, like if it's generational, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So either generational
It's just embedded.
Yeah. So like you're not gonna realize this is a problem if everybody in your family or like, you know, in the you grew up has surrounded you with this line of thinking, this behavior. And so your partner, your friend, whomever we're talking about having a relationship with, you know, they're the weirdo, they're the outsider, because this is how we are. Like this is correct. This is healthy. When in fact it's like poison. You know what I mean? But and I think we all have those biases. No, you know, you could grow up having been in the Brady Bunch, you know, or whatever. Everybody's got something. Everybody's got something. Like they
sorry. I was gonna say, and you know, yes, I call myself the positivity guru, but I want to be clear, it is not the Pollyanna positivity of like everything is perfect all the time. Positivity is simply like, it doesn't mean you're not going through hard stuff. It just means that you know the outcome is going to be okay. That's all positivity is. But if you are, I totally just lost my train of thought.
I don't know, but you know, I love it when you say the Pollyanna thing, because that's
the Pollyanna point. I don't know where I was going with that. Literally, it went out of my head.
Katie, if you like me to. Katie, in that Pollyanna positivity, it's sort of like rainbows, butterflies, and Skittles. And you don't see that. But what you're looking for is definitely affirmations. What you're looking for is things that you can write down and say, you know what? I'm not feeling good like right now, but guess what? And if I lay down for about 3 hours, I'm going to feel great. And I'm going to go to that 3 hours and make sure that I'm feeling great at this particular time. And that's going to be my positive. And if you're not feeling like 100% great, but if you're feeling 50% great, guess what then? Celebrate that small win. At least you went up more than what you were.
Right.
So celebrate that small win. So that is a positive.
Right.
That is that you've come up from where you were.
Right.
Now, if you stay in it, even if you go up 2%,
That's right.
and you got a little bit, that's somewhere from where you
I
were.
want to speak to that too. So
And at least you got up.
That's right. I've been reading Gabby Bernstein's Super Attractor book. It's amazing. And she talks about that, how like in order to stay in like that super attractor mode, you have like reach for the next feel good feeling. You may be feeling really low, reach for the next good feeling. And then reach for the next one. And that's how you kind of dig yourself out of those slumps. And I think I remember the point I was going to make about the Pollyanna viewpoint. That can also be a toxic trait. Like being overly positive.
Yeah.
That's where I was
positive
going.
Vibes only. Positive
Yep.
vibes.
Only positive. Yeah.
Yeah. Ew. Like, ew. Like, I like positive vibes just as much as the next person. But like, that's not how humans function.
No. Like, and it's not real life.
No. Go ahead, Katie. Sorry.
Oh, that was it.
Oh, yeah.
At all.
Katie and I, you know, we, in our friendship, we do a lot of joking around, you know, and joking around about this kind of stuff. We talk about like the getting out of bed, Judah, like the kind of positivity that Katie and I talk about. Katie as the positivity guru at Neese On Life is positivity on purpose. Like, and it's less like positivity like rainbow, skittles, butterflies. It's positivity as I am self-aware enough to know that I am in control of finding doing the next right thing. Sometimes the next right thing is staying in bed. Sometimes if you do like a vibe check with yourself, you check in with yourself, you're like, okay, I'm super depressed. What would help my soul right now? And sometimes the answer to that question is get off of Facebook, turn off the TV, and just
get in the shower.
Get in the shower. Favorite. The shower is my favorite. But
that's where the best ideas come from.
Yeah. When I'm super depressed or anxious, you'll legit find me in the shower like 2 or 3 times a day. Like that's just what it is. Sometimes when you're depressed, it's not a good thing to stay in bed. But if you're staying in bed with some level of intention, like I'm staying in bed to rest and recuperate, revive myself to keep going, that's not the same as staying in bed and giving up.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, like sometimes staying in bed is a warrior move. Okay.
That's right.
Right.
Just saying.
Great.
Yeah.
Definitely great information. The one thing is definitely in talking about emotional and relationship health, we also want to talk about physical health. And in physical health, we got to understand that there should be some self-awareness in your physical health too as well. Just some physical health problems, diabetes, heart attacks, strokes, and things like that. I employ everyone at least go to the doctor at least once out of a year to do an annual checkup, if not twice out of a year. That physical can give you a lifetime opportunity, so you can just get like a tune-up. It's sort of like a car. You have to go and get a tune-up and an oil change every so now and again. Sometimes your tires are flat and you don't even know it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely.
I can share a personal story to that, Judah, if you don't mind. So what was it? 2016. And I am like 6 months pregnant at this time, I think. My husband starts having some chest pains. We had like moved some furniture or something, because you know that's what you do when you're 6 months pregnant, is you help your husband move furniture. Anyway, he was like, oh my God, my chest is gonna hurt. I was like, well, are you all right? And he was like, yeah. He's like, I just need to lay down. And I took his blood pressure and it was like through the roof. I was like, no, this is not okay. And so it took me some coercing to get him to go to the doctor, but he couldn't get into the doctor. So we had to take him to the urgent care. And then the urgent care was like, oh, it's just GERD, it's just this, or it's just that. And I said, no, it's not just that, it's something more. And so long story short, we finally got him into the doctor, and they did all of the tests and ran blood work and all these things. And he had all of these health issues that he had no clue that he had.
Because he was otherwise a healthy person.
Yeah, because he was otherwise a healthy person. And so, you know, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, you know, all of these things. And, you know, he would never have known because he wasn't going to go to the doctor to figure it out. It was like a wake up call, essentially.
Yeah. I was kept looking up to make sure, even though we lost Judah, which
I think we did lose Judah.
But it still says we're live on Facebook, so hopefully Facebook can still have us. But I really hoped that that you'd be able to finish that story, because I think what Doug, her husband, went through is something that a lot of people could learn from. Like, he's like your average. He's like not overweight. Like, he's just like, not that you're unhealthy if you're overweight. I mean, hello, I'm right there in the world, okay? But like, looking at him, you'd be like, he's probably a young, healthy dude. Like, you know what I mean? And so they probably didn't think, you know, honestly, if Katie wasn't in the health industry, I would be curious to see if Doug would have taken himself to the doctor. You know what I mean? Oh,
he wouldn't have. You know, and I pushed him, and I, you know, advocated, and, you know, he probably was so annoyed with me.
But it saved his life.
It did, because had it gone longer, he would have had a heart attack. Hi. Had it gone longer, he could have had a heart attack, and he wouldn't be here today. And so I think, you know, the biggest thing was these were hereditary things that he really wasn't, like, he knew he had, like, his parents had health issues, but he wasn't so keen on like going to the doctor himself to, you know, check up on himself, nor did he think he needed to. He was in his 30s, I mean, late 30s then. I mean, so these things happened super early for him when they should have happened later in life, but because it was hereditary, like literally on both sides, it just happened when it did. And so, I mean, like Judah was saying, like, you really need to go and get yourself checked out. Ask your parents what things, you know, if they had health issues, or grandparents, or what have you, like, those are important things to know. Because it can save your life.
And I'm gonna tell a similar story just real quick. Again, to use Judah's point of vulnerable, I'll make myself vulnerable for a second. I struggle with infertility, and I struggle with infertility. I have diminished ovarian reserve, which means like I have way fewer eggs than I should have as a 36-year-old woman. Going back to the point of going to the doctor, when my husband and I decided to try to get pregnant, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna get pregnant. Like, cool, like I'm 33, you know, like it's gonna be fine. Like I've had my female doctor visits, but I never asked them to run tests. You know, I never asked anything like that. And so
why would you? You didn't think
why
about
would
it.
I? Didn't even think about it. And tried to get pregnant, and this went on. And then anyway, years later, tests later, I had diminished ovarian reserve. And if I would have thought to ask even in my 20s, before I was married, before I was with my husband, like, and just like, hey, I just want to like check out what's going on down there. Like, what do we got going on? That's something that could have helped me now. I've struggled with my weight, you know, throughout my life. And so I thought, you know, oh, would it have something to do with that? And the doctor I see now is like, no, it just happens. It could be hereditary. And, you know, had I asked my mom and dad, you know, like about my mom's reproductive health and my grandmother's reproductive health, I might have had the clues that I didn't have until it was too late to know that something was going on. So like, get the test, like talk to the doctor, you know, prioritize your health. Mike Brady. He's Jan.
Mike, is he back with us?
He's Jan now because he's down there.
Marcy. So I clearly understand. One thing we have to understand is, and what I want to do is leave the listeners with this is at least go and get a checkup. Go get an exam. Go to a doctor or whatever, your physician, where it's a nurse practitioner or something, so you can actually find out what is actually going on with you, even if nothing's going on wrong with you that you feel. You don't know what's inside your body, and no one can see that. Get your blood test, get the necessary things you need in order to become a better you. You have to. You have to, because that's the only way that you will be able to actually document and dictate what is wrong with you on a physical, healthy perspective. I think we're, short for time, but we definitely want to hit the spiritual health too as well. With spiritual health, being that we understand a lot of people have deities, and that's what I will leave it at. Higher conscious, higher powers, God, Jehovah Jireh. We have a lot of names out there, but in the spiritual health, knowing who you submit to, who do you submit to, and do you do their will or do you do your own will? So with me, I know Judah, I submit to God and I do his will because I have to let his will be done, and not that I have to remove self, because if I keep Judah in the way, I'm going to mess up. I'm not going to be the perfect being out there doing what Judah wants to do. That's why I allow God to lead me and guide me, because it says in the Bible that every step of a righteous man is ordered by God. So in his ordering, I have to follow and be directed and lead it in his steps. So what do you guys think?
Yeah. Well, I definitely grew up in the church, and so I refer to my higher power as God, obviously, but I mean, whatever you refer to it as, God, source, the universe, the thing is, I will tell you this, when you realize that there's something out there bigger than you, it puts a whole new perspective on life. I mean, I take great comfort in knowing that I'm not in control. Like, thank goodness, because if I were in control, who knows what would happen. So I'm grateful knowing that there is a higher power out there with with intentions to give me the best in life.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to echo what both of you have already said, that to me, my higher power is God. And I noticed throughout my life that I come through my hard times when I remember that I'm not alone, and it's not about Micah and what Micah can get through. There have definitely been times in my life that I forget that I'm not alone. And I'm like, how am me going to survive this? And when I remember that I'm not alone in this universe, that I am, like at the leadership and love, under the leadership and love of my higher power, which is God, that provides me more comfort and more direction and more peace than I could ever sum up, in a few words.
Yeah.
And I love it that we've had this conversation where we've touched on so many things that involves health, which is spiritual, emotional, relationship, physical, and mental. Those are 5 health points that we need to start doing check-ins with. And do them on your finger. Yeah. Have I had a mental exam? Maybe I'm not feeling right all the time. Maybe my anxiety or my depression, or I'm feeling like suicidal ideation or something is wrong overall in the mental psyche. And the emotional. Why am I crying all the time? Why nobody like me? Why am I feeling like this always? Why in my relationships that I feel like this? Well, that might be something mental, and I say might be, but I'm not a licensed psychologist or a licensed anything right now. I'm a wisdom dialogue, so that's why I say go and see a doctor, go and see a therapist, go see a nurse practitioner. We need to engage in those services. They went to school to deliver some best practices, and if you're not comfortable with the one you're talking to, guess what? There are a lot of doctors and nurses and psychologists and psychiatrists and therapists that are out there that you can choose. So you have choices in life. The next is relationship. Stop getting in relationships with all of those 5 things going on, and you haven't even had what Micah said before is self-awareness. How about that? Be vulnerable sometimes to know that in all of those 5 that it matters what your self-awareness is in all 5 of those checkpoints. The third one is in the spiritual health. Know where your higher power is.
You have some internet connection health
Who's your higher calling? How are you submitting yourself? So did I leave one out?
No,
Physical,
I
mental,
laughed. I said
relational.
we're having some internet connection health problems.
Yeah, it was breaking up a little bit. I want to like add social in there, not just relational,
Yes.
but like your social network. And so I know like with COVID, obviously we haven't been going out of the house as much. And I think social relationships have gone down. And Micah and I have talked about this, you know, the elderly, they are in these nursing homes and they're, you know, being quarantined, and it's so hard. We are social beings. We have to interact with people. Like that keeps us cognizant and like aware of what's going on. And I mean, that's part of who we are. Reach out to a friend, you know, make sure you're connecting in some way. Zoom is great.
Right.
FaceTime is great. Connect in some way to someone else, just to give yourself a little relief. And, you know, something that I would love to leave everyone with is like in regards to a spiritual practice, you know, do something every morning to connect to your spirituality. It's okay to search. It's okay to search and, you know, read some things, reach out to talk to other people about it, but do something every morning to kind of connect to that spiritual side of you, because I'm telling you, your days will start going better.
Yeah,
if you kind of develop a little practice in the morning of trying to connect to, you know, if it's just saying a little prayer, if it's doing a 3 to 5 minute meditation, your day, you will start seeing your day go better.
And you're more attuned when you have that little brief routine in the morning, not only to your spiritual side, whatever that looks like for you, but also to like just yourself. Like, how do I feel this morning? How do I feel emotionally? How do I feel physically? How do I feel mentally? Check in with, make that your daily practice. As I'm going to do a check-in at some point every day with myself.
We actually have a little freebie on our website too, if they want to utilize it.
Go to neesonlife.com and then it's under freebies. If you want to do, it's like a daily check-in, right, Katie? Or
yes, it's a gratitude journal. I don't remember what it's under.
Okay. Well, we're going to make sure it goes under freebies and then go find it.
It's under freebies. I know that.
Okay.
I just don't remember where under freebies.
Jude, are you still with us? Uh-oh.
Did we lose him again?
I don't know. You see, the battery never blinks.
I don't know. There's a lag on Facebook, so
okay.
I don't know if we lost him again.
Oh, we did. He's gone. So I guess
Judah left.
Yeah. So I guess on behalf of the 3 of us, we say thanks for attending our TED Talk. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my gosh.
We lost Judah, but I'm sure he'll come on and say thank you for watching. Judah, thank you for having us. I'm noticing some grays here, so thank you for somebody to fix this for me. Thanks. And yeah.
All right. just thank you guys for listening. We hope that this was informative for you. We hope that it helped in some way. And, thank you again to Judah for allowing us to come into your community. We so appreciate you.
Thank you. Bye.
The Rise, creating your voice.
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 The Rise.